All right, we're live back on the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. Carter, how we doing?
Doing well, man. I'm doing really well. It's a nice little hump day, little Wednesday action for you. And who would have guessed that today there'd be a bunch of news come out, middle of the week that we could talk a little college football as we get ready. It's the Super Bowl week, man. I didn't even realize it until today. I got to be honest with you. I had heard it and it didn't register. And then today I was hanging out and talking. Somebody was like, "Oh, what are you doing for the Super Bowl this weekend?" I was like, "Oh, shit, that is this weekend. You're right." So we got Super Bowl week. So we'll talk a little NFL and everything like that. But other than that, man, I'm good. I started to come down with something Monday night. I tell you what, this has been a weird year of just getting sick. And I popped a bunch of vitamin C and vitamin D and all kinds of different stuff. And I feel much better. So I'm doing good. I'm ready to rock and roll, ready to finish out the week strong, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Can't complain. It was almost 50 degrees here in Fort Wayne. So,
that's coming my way.
So, yeah, my allergies are a little messed up. So, with that, nothing too crazy, man. Nothing at all.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Sid said, man, the weather's crazy. It's hot. Yeah, it was almost 60 degrees a couple days ago in Ohio. And then today it was in the 20s. So, yeah, my sinuses and all that, I don't know how to do it. My body's I don't know what the hell. I don't even know what's going on. But it is what it is. This is if you're in Ohio. Sid, I forget where you are, but if you're in Ohio, or I guess Fort Wayne's probably not that much different. This is this time of year, man. It's about to get cold one more time for about 4 weeks, and then it'll start to ease up a little. We'll get that random snow in late March, and then it'll be springtime, and we'll have spring football to talk about and everything like that, man. But other than that, man, Sid asked a question in the North Georgia, man. Yeah, North Georgia. It gets pretty cold up in North Georgia. Even down in Atlanta, it kind of Atlanta's more towards the middle, but it can get pretty cold there. So I'm sure you guys are going through it too. But Sid asked a question in the pre-show that I forgot to include in the notes, so I want to make sure to address it. We'll get it out of the way early and often. Sid wants to know what the fuck is up with the GM position. Is Notre Dame going to mess this up? That's it's a really good question. We talked about it. I think it was sometime last week when we talked about Chad Bowden leaving and the possible replacements and who we had heard as a replacement. Everything I've heard is that that's still the plan. So Chris Blanchard from Texas Tech has been in deep negotiations with Notre Dame to get that contract done, and they've been going back and forth on salary and different things like that. But my understanding is that is pretty much all but a done deal at this point. I think they're just waiting on specifics and the agents to get things back. But I even heard rumors, and I heard this wasn't true, but I even heard rumors that he was flying to South Bend Sunday or Monday to be in town and to spend a few days with the coaches and the staff and everything like that. And then it would be released, later on this week. So I anticipate an announcement anytime this week, or I don't think they'd wait till next week unless something changed. Maybe it was a leverage play and he went back to Texas Tech and told him the salary and the offer, and Texas Tech matched. But my understanding is that Chris Blanchard is still in line to become the next GM at Notre Dame. I believe that. So just want to get that out of the way here. Other than that, do you have any other kind of housekeeping things or anything before we get into the social media segment of the show?
Since the last time we talked, I believe Justin Fry hit the road. A lot of things. We got some Ohio State notes today, but as far as that goes, going to look real different in Columbus.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some news on that front as far as who's replacing Justin Fry and some of the other movement on the offensive and defensive coaching staff for Ohio State. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and jump into some interesting things that I found. So obviously, as we get prepared for another, I don't know how you want to say it, another off season of college football. I found this really interesting. That Clemson has the second longest active streak of AP top 25 finishes at 14 years. And I didn't even realize that. I knew Ohio State had done 13 years because obviously the Luke Fickell year they finished outside of the top 25 with an interim head coach. And Bama, obviously, pretty much ever since Saban got there, they've been top 25. So I knew those two, but I didn't even realize that Clemson had 14 straight seasons of being in the top 25. Is this surprising to you at all?
No, I'm not surprised. Some people are on the we should fire Dabo, and to me, I still don't track on why we're firing Dabo when he just won the conference. 14 consecutive years finishing in the top 25, so that means that there are probably 9-10 wins a season.
Top 25, you can get top 25 with 8 wins.
You're only behind Saban, so
no, and DeBoer now.
Well, if we want to go that far, but the big
he's
thing
part of that Alabama number, right?
Because Saban got there in 2007. And
I'm saying DeBoer continued that streak this year. Like, it could have ended last year, but DeBoer kept them in the streak. That it could have ended.
No, I think if you change the helmet on that, they're not ranked. And they lost to Michigan at the end of the year, so
maybe. But what were they? 8-5? No, they were 9-4. Yeah, they finished 9-4. They're still a top 25 team.
Yeah,
I'd have to pull up the final rankings, but I guarantee you there were some schools that were 9-4 that were worse that were still top 25 too. Because 9 wins gets you in.
I'm pulling that up right now. I guess.
But yeah, as far as the fire Dabo thing goes, I think the main thing is it's a little more impressive for Alabama and Ohio State, right? You're in a little bit tougher conferences. You play a little bit tougher schedules. So it'd be a lot easier to drop an extra game or two, and you don't. Right. I think we can all the ACC. It used to be better. I agree. Like when this streak started, it was probably stronger than it is now. But at this point, after all the realignment and everything that's gone on, and just everything like that, you look at the SEC and Big Ten schedules, and it's a much tougher. Yeah. See, Sid. Yeah, Bama finished 17. There's no way they were. If they finished 25, 24, I'd say the brand got them there. But
I think that the teams that Bama finished in front of, Miami won 10 games, South Carolina, Syracuse, Army, Missouri, UNLV, Memphis, and Colorado.
Okay, yeah, there's maybe 2 teams you could rank above.
But, I think a lot of that's just all big time window dressing. I don't know, because there was some people that I had seen today that were talking about the fire Dabo thing.
Hold on. I just want to make one real quick point that just where you're at right now, because right now you're saying that Alabama is a fringe top 25 team, like the brand, the helmet made sure that they were top 25.
I don't.
Before the playoff started, you were telling me they should have been in the playoff.
Well, that was before they completely went out there and laid an egg against Michigan.
Yeah, but that's a game they didn't care about. It didn't mean more to them.
There was, and I don't
I'm just
know.
saying, how are they one of the best 12 teams in college football, the week before the playoff starts, and now you're sitting there telling me they shouldn't have even been top 25?
Well, I wasn't going to fight you too hard on the top 25, but
Yeah,
one of the top 12, I mean, but if you realistically, if you look at it, there you could make the case. Could Alabama beat Iowa State, Illinois, BYU, or SMU?
Could Alabama beat those teams? Yeah.
You think they could beat them?
Yeah.
They can beat those teams in there in the playoffs, but
I mean, no, because they couldn't beat fucking 6-6 Vanderbilt, and they couldn't score a touchdown against 6-6 Oklahoma. So that's how you don't make the play. We've been over there. I'm not doing this argument again.
I'm just saying, but
they could beat anybody in the country, yeah, but they couldn't beat the teams they needed to. So
yeah, it kind of fell apart for Alabama down the stretch, but the last thing that I got on that is that they went out and hired a new offensive coordinator, and I find that interesting that the Alabama fans are completely having I don't know, like they're rejoicing like it's going to change something. I think that like
I mean, hopefully it does, right? Isn't that is it? I don't know. I don't forget who they hired. I don't remember off the top of my head, but
Ryan Grubb.
Okay, he's a good coach.
The crazy thing is that the more and more that we're getting into this, I think it's more and more about personnel and players at the highest level.
It's always been about the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's.
And because I seen some people arguing today on Twitter about if DeBoer was even a good coach or not, and I said, well, he had Roma Dunze and Michael Penix running his system. And Penix had been in the system 4 years from Indiana to Washington.
Yeah. I get that. But at the same time, like, some of that has to go to coaching, development, play calling. Like, you can't give all the credit. Like, you can put let me think of an example here.
I'm not saying give all the credit to Kalen DeBoer, but I'm saying
give all the credit to the players. Like, it has to be a 50-50 split. Like, and you can put a player in a bad situation, like in a bad system, and give them great players. Like, you could say maybe I don't know, maybe Bo Nix in Auburn. He looked like trash in Auburn. You send him to Oregon, you put him with Dan Lanning, you put him in a better system, and all of a sudden he's a first-round draft pick.
Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, coaching and system matters.
And runner-up what he finished third or fourth for the Heisman?
I don't remember.
Can't play at Auburn, but you got to see Peyton Thorne in 4K. But friendly reminder when you walk in the football building, it does not say Auburn Fan Center. It says Nix Family Center in big bold letters, but you ran them out of there, and they still give money to you.
Yeah, because they love them. But anyways, On3 released the On 300 signees, which I guess is their top 300 players, and it's broken down by conference, which is interesting. So you look at the conferences broken down here. You got, obviously, SEC leads the way with 141 signees, Big Ten 80, ACC 41, Big 12 19, Notre Dame themselves with 11, like just them. And then the other group of 5 and Pac-2 got a total of 5. What are your thoughts on this? Because I'm surprised. I mean, I know the SEC gets more of the big name guys, but I'm surprised it's almost double. And they don't have more teams anymore.
I look at that and I think at some of those schools that are in the Big 12, it's got to be a tough sell. BYU, a super tough sell with the religion
nobody wants to go there.
and also at Utah, tough sell.
Mhm.
Iowa State. Have
Yeah, I
you
mean,
been
when,
to Have you been to Ames, Iowa? It's rough. I'm
of,
just
of
saying.
course I have. It's beautiful. I love Ames, Iowa. I love Iowa State. Go
Yeah,
Cyclones, baby.
I like, and you know what? A guy that doesn't get enough credit is Matt Campbell, because
Mhm.
he's consistently winning games there. And the last person to do that was your grandpa.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Uh,
That's a
uh,
fact.
Kansas State. But see, the thing that Kansas State has is that they got some of the top JUCOs in the country, to where it's easier for them to refill their coffers, because it's easy to drive out to Southwest Kansas, whether to Coffeeville or Independence, and say, hey, yeah, it sucks out here. You want to come to Manhattan, where it's like less sucky? But that's just my opinion.
No, absolutely. And I mean, BYU, you got to sell these 18-year-old kids on soaking instead of getting it in. I mean, that's not
I
going to work.
I don't. No, I don't even think it's. BYU's getting ready to sign like the top basketball class, and
They must be easing up on the religious part of it. But regardless,
well,
I think so. The two things that I took away from this are, number one, SEC having almost double the signees of the Big Ten is, I guess it's not shocking. It is a little bit shocking, because I think, doesn't the Big Ten have more schools than the SEC? Like, isn't the Big Ten at like 18 or 20 and the SEC's at like 16? I don't
uh,
remember, but I thought they had a couple more. So you would think that would bring the numbers closer. And I understand that the Big Ten recruiting is so top heavy. Like, your schools that get these guys, the top 300 guys, are Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC, Oregon. That's about it. Like, those 5 schools. Whereas the SEC, like, a lot of their schools, top 10 schools in there, get a lot of these guys. But so that was the biggest thing that stood out. But I mean, I think it's kind of cool and kind of interesting that Notre Dame got 11 of these guys, which, if you broke it down by number of institutions in the conference, like a per institution basis, Notre Dame would have the highest average, right? So like 141 amongst 16 schools or whatever in the SEC is less than 10 per school. 80 amongst 18 is well less than 10, et cetera, et cetera. So Notre Dame, I understand they're not competing against the lower half of the Big Ten or the lower half of the SEC. They're competing against the big boys that are carrying these conference. Like, I guarantee Ohio State got 11 or 12 or 15 of those guys. I guarantee Georgia, Bama, those schools got 15 of those guys. So I'm not saying that it's impressive from like a comparison to the top end guys. It's just interesting to think about. And also, if you're the Big Ten, man, it would look so much cooler if we had 91 instead of 80.
Two things. The Big Ten has 2 more schools
Than the
the
SEC. Yeah,
It's 8.
I think it's 18 and 16.
Yeah.
There's 20 and 18. It's 18 and 16. Yeah.
And also, it's I don't know. The Big 12 only signed 19 guys. That's tough.
Well, you gotta. I mean, what's the lower half of the Big 12 now? It's like Cincinnati, Cal.
Yeah.
No, Cal's in the ACC. Never mind. You're talking about the top half of the Big 12 is your probably Colorado probably had a couple, Utah, BYU, Kansas, Arizona State probably had a few, but like, you're not talking about a lot of schools that are getting many of these guys, and none of their schools are competing with Notre Dame for recruits. So like, you can't expect one of them to come out with 11.
Well, and I also think the recruiting demographics are like different for the Big 12 than because the ACC is going to recruit the East Coast, like they're going to stick to the Carolinas, North Georgia, Florida, might come over to to like the
area.
central states, but like The Big 12 is like recruiting plain states, though, like
Yeah.
Kansas, Nebraska.
Well, when you look at the rankings, I mean, it looks pretty geographic, right? Like the SEC, I mean, majority of their schools are in the talent-rich states, the Floridas, Georgia, Texas. Like, they're going into those, and they still are going to be able to recruit nationally and get some kids out of California, out of Ohio, out of places like that have a ton of talent. So, like, the SEC has so much talent at their disposal that it's easier to sign more kids. Same with the Big Ten. But I mean, Big Ten, you got Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, like some of the bigger high school football brands and markets are in the area. And then you look at Notre Dame's obviously in that Big Ten footprint. The ACC's in the East Coast, so you're not going to get as much. But there is a ton of talent in the Jersey, DMV, like that area as well. But Ohio State and the Big Ten is really good at going in there and taking that talent. And then the one that's not on here because they don't really exist or they're at the bottom is the Pac-12. And that's where they would probably be a lot higher up on this list if they hadn't gotten decimated, because they would be able to keep the big name guys from California, Oregon, those areas, and some of those other states out west that are going now. Those numbers are going to the SEC and the Big Ten now.
Well, and let's keep it real. Lincoln Riley is completely torpedoing USC at the moment.
Didn't they have a pretty good class?
Yeah, but he's not going to. I
don't disagree with that. I just, as far as recruiting goes, I thought he did all right.
He did okay, but he's not. He should dominate the state of California, and he's not. I would not be shocked if in a couple of years Deshaun Foster has more California, more top recruits from the state of California than Lincoln Riley at USC, because there's certain things that, I'm not saying that, you should give high school coaches like the run of your facility, but I think like modern day and in Bosco and a couple of those programs out there, like I think I'd keep those people happy. That kid, Chris Henry Jr., I think I would try to recruit him. I think it would be beneficial for what you're doing, but you want to shut the media out and you want to shut the high school coaches out. The first people are to turn on you are the fans, and you know where the majority of the fans are right now? They're in the media, because you have guys that went to journalism school that love the team, and when the local media turns on you, it's done.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, USC is a little different because of the market. I mean, being in LA, the local media doesn't really give a fuck about USC football.
Some people that write big checks for that place care, but
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. You still have boosters and you still have, big time people that are interested in that, love it. But ultimately, it's just that market's different.
You're competing with a lot. That's like at the like for the Indiana thing, it is a like the Mike Woodson thing, that is an absolute abject failure. But so I mean, at that point, you want to reset the show and then we do a commercial.
Yeah. First though, Sid, I totally forgot it was National Signing Day too, because National Signing Day actually happened in December. And they just kept this one for some reason, and I mean, I've been on Twitter, and nobody's talking about National Signing Day today. Nope. They need to. I mean, this calendar, and we won't get into it today. That'll be an off-season topic, I am sure. But this calendar for college football has got to change. It just doesn't make any sense having the 2 signing days. I understand why they did it, but that was before NIL, before transfer portal, before all of this. At this point, you got to change it. And you got to change the portal windows. You got to change everything, because with the new expanded playoff, I mean, it doesn't work. But go ahead and reset the show. We'll get into some NFL stuff.
One last thing on the calendar is that they wanted to go to they wanted to have a junior July signing period. That was something that was talked about in the the college coaches were like, okay, that's fine, but you're gonna have high school kids opting out.
Yeah.
That's the problem because of everybody with an agent. But anyway,
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
If you're watching out there on Twitter, come on over to YouTube. Help us grow this thing. Hit that like and subscribe button. We are live Monday through Friday, 7:30 in the off season, and then during the season we normally hit it with a Saturday show. So we're a relatively new show. We're looking to expand and talking a lot of things sports. So with that being said, hit that like and subscribe button, and we got a commercial for you.
Yeah, so we'll be right back after this.
What's up, guys? If you have been watching the show for a while, you know, if you're like me, that you love a good nicotine pouch. So that's why we're super excited to offer our first ever promotion here on the show. ALP pouches, ALP pouches, the new standard in nicotine pouches. A better time without pouches. A better time isn't just a tagline, it's a promise. We love nicotine pouches, and we're here to share that love. Better products, better experiences, and a genuine commitment to a better world. That's why a portion of every sale goes to real causes, not political players. Simple, honest, and yes, better. Best part about ALP pouches is you get more pouches in every tin. That's right, you get 20 pouches per tin as opposed to the regular 15. Also, tins come in 3 different strengths from 3, 6, and 9 milligrams, so you can pick your strength. And amazing flavors. All the pouches come with enhanced moisture, so no more dry pouches chafing your lips or giving you cuts and scratches on your inner lips. They come in all sorts of great flavors, all your typical flavors, or try my favorite, the refreshing chill or the tropical fruit in the 9 milligram. ALP isn't just better, ALP is the new standard. Created by real users, not suits in a boardroom. We've made the product they never could. So go over to alppouch.com/Duke Show. That's ALPPOUCH.com/Duke Show to get 10% off your first purchase of America's newest nicotine pouch standard.
All right, you are muted, Carter.
Yeah. All right. I was just gonna say I just threw one of the 9 milligram tropical fruit ones in. They're phenomenal. So going out, get you some. Like I said, 10% off your first order. But in the NFL, there's I know you guys talked about it a little bit yesterday, but my guy, one of my favorite players of all time, really, Myles Garrett, has officially requested a trade. And I saw he was on the. There you go. I saw he was on the. I think it was the Rich Eisen show today, talking about it, about how he met with ownership in the front office a few times, and after talks with them, just didn't think that their views were aligned on the plans for next year, which, AKA,
You don't say.
You could take it a couple different ways. Number one, it could be Myles Garrett wants a big contract and they're not ready to do that right now for next year. Or you could take it as Myles Garrett wants to win and compete for a Super Bowl, and they looked at the roster and said, no, that's not going to happen next year. Could be either one, but he has requested a trade. Now, Andrew Berry, the GM, who I believe should be out of a job at this point, he's come out and said that they are not interested in trading him. We'll see. It looks to me like they're butting heads, and I don't see a peaceful resolution because there's anything that I've learned about Myles Garrett over the years that he's been in Cleveland and leading up to him being drafted by Cleveland. One of the big knocks on him coming out of college was that front offices were worried about how much he cared about football, right? If he was a football guy. Like, he's kind of a weird dude. He likes dinosaurs and anime and like all this other stuff. And so they thought, like, I don't know how much he wants to play football. Well, what that tells me is if you're not going to trade him, he might just not play football this year and just say, fuck it, I don't want to play in Cleveland. So Here's a list of some of the trade options. I can knock one of them off the board right now.
Uh,
Can you guess? Because it's not happening.
I mean, I don't think Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, they're not trading him in the division. Get the fuck out of here.
I think the only two spots are realistic. Is I don't know. I don't think you trade him to New England with Vrabel.
No, they would. If they have the cap room, I don't know. I'd have to look. I mean, they've done a lot of trades with New England, so that's one of the reasons that I think New England's a contender. Andrew Berry's been very willing to work with New England, and we've traded a lot of players back and forth. Detroit, I don't think you can afford them.
I think Detroit you would have to look at the cap number. I think your best chance to win, since Cincinnati is out, is probably Washington, because they have a young quarterback. The team is trending in the right direction. Washington is where I would want to go. Go to Vegas with Pete Carroll, and I don't know what Vegas is going to be. They need a quarterback.
Here's what I think. So I think there's two real contenders on the list. And I think it's Vegas and Washington. New England's a good idea. They have a quarterback. A lot of people think he is the quarterback. We'll see. I'm not. I think he's a really good quarterback. I'm not going to say I don't think so. It's just he hasn't wowed to it's not Jaden Daniels, right? It's not the rookie of the year. It's not CJ Stroud. It's not somebody that is okay, that's a franchise guy. But he's looked like is definitely on that route or down that road. But the interesting thing with Washington is obviously they were kind of a Cinderella story this year, right? Kind of overdid it, overachieved. And they're going to be able to make the maneuvers with the cap because they have a rookie guy on a rookie contract, or a quarterback on a rookie contract. So they're going to be able to maneuver things and do things. The thing with Detroit is you already have Aiden Hutchinson, and not that Myles Garrett has to be the guy, but he's going to command the guy money, and you're already going to pay Aiden Hutchinson that. Plus you have Goff, plus you have all this other stuff. I don't think that's viable. Now with Oakland, what's interesting is I think Oakland's at a point where they could really go all in on building quick. And I think that's something Pete Carroll's good at. And so I think Pete Carroll will push hard to get pieces to build quick. And I think if I'm forecasting what I think Oakland does this offseason, I would not be shocked if they made a big push to try to bring Myles Garrett in. I would not be shocked if their new offensive coordinator, who just coached the guy for a year, made a big push to get Will Howard in there as the quarterback. And you saw Will Howard, Max Crosby, who is it? No, it's not Josh Jacobs anymore. Who's the running back out there now? I forget, but he's pretty good.
I know what you're talking about. The only thing that I push back with the Raiders is that I don't know. I think the only guy to grab in this draft is probably, like me and Rich talked about it a little bit yesterday, is I think the only three that are – well, I think there's only really two guys. Cam Ward, but I don't think he's going to be there. And for the offense that Chip Kelly runs, I would rather have Jackson Dart run it than Will Howard.
Well, I mean, I don't think Chip Kelly would. I'm just telling you.
But, I mean, the Will Howard thing is like he played great, but, I mean, I could throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith and make it look good.
Not that accurately.
I don't see it. I just think
I'm telling you, watch the film again.
I think Will Howard's going to be an average NFL guy. He might be. I don't know, but here's the reason I push back. I wouldn't take him over Jackson Dart.
I would for sure. I have him at probably quarterback 3 right now in this draft.
Will Howard?
Yeah. I think so. And the reason is, I think the reason Chip Kelly will push for it is I saw the development you saw in Will Howard in 8 months with Chip Kelly. And when he came into Ohio State, I agree. I didn't think he was that great of a thrower, deep ball concerns, everything like that. As he progressed, and I agree, he had great talent around him. But as he progressed, he made some big time throws, and he put things on tape that you went, oh shit, that's an NFL throw. And there's not a lot of guys that do that. And so if you give him 8 months with Chip Kelly, gets developed like that, why can he not develop further? I mean, he's put everything on tape. He's bigger, stronger, faster than Jackson Dart.
I don't know. Jackson Dart's a pretty big dude.
Then they're the same height, but he's not as big.
I don't know. I mean, if you want to tie your whole NFL tenure to that, but I think, Pete Carroll makes that decision ultimately.
For sure. But I think he brought Chip Kelly in specifically to help him with quarterback. Because if you look at what Pete Carroll struggled with, it was quarterback. I mean, Russell Wilson was good, but he had great offensive weapons and he had great offensive coordinators around him. But I'm telling you, Chip Kelly's going. I don't know for sure, but we'll see how it plays out. But I think Will Howard's got a good chance to be the Vegas Raiders' future, and I wouldn't hate that for him.
They are paying Chip a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to tie the whole thing to Will Howard. For where the Raiders are at, that's fine. But I don't think you have to draft Will Howard in the first or second round. I think he might be there.
Oh, I guarantee you he's gone by the early second.
But I think there's going to be a run on quarterbacks at some point because I think Shador, Cam, and Travis are probably going to be your top 3 picks. I'm not saying in what order, but I think that's going to be or you could throw Abdul Carter in there.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see about all that. I don't care about. I just know the way that Will Howard's climbing boards right now. If he goes out and puts a good combine performance on as well as a good pro day, I promise you, Will Howard's a late first, early second guy.
I'll be shocked if he throws at the combine.
He probably won't. He'll probably only throw a pro day, but he'll run.
I bet. I don't think he'll do anything at the combine.
I bet he runs just so he can prove his speed. Because there's a lot of people that are unsure of his speed because it's been rumored and it's been talked about and it's been clocked by scouts that he can run 22 miles an hour or whatever, and there's questions about that. So I bet he runs just to try to prove that. As long as his 40, like his practice 40s, are within the range he wants, I bet he runs because that'll be the difference between a first round grade and a third round grade maybe.
I don't know. I
don't mean his time. I mean performance. If he doesn't go out and run, he can improve his stock by running. He can't hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a little skeptical on it, but I don't know. But if you look at some of the turds that are playing in the NFL, look at Trevor Lawrence. You got Trevor Lawrence, big deal. You have Dak that has a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bunch of guys that are a whole bunch of bag of mid that are a big deal and or that have big deals. And then you look at Sam Darnold, Minnesota got him for $10 million and won 11 games. So
they won 14 or 13 games.
Yeah, they won 14 or 13 and went to the playoffs. Yeah. They got bounced, but it's just well, I guess you could take a flyer on Will Howard, but I don't know with all the money that Vegas has dumped into the Raiders on the coaching staff, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Chucky with the bad haircuts not making these decisions. So I would say that he is. I promise
you, Mark is. Mark Davis is no different than his father. I'm sure he's very involved.
I think Tom Brady's pulling the strings on this one.
Oh, I think he listens to Tom Brady and Tom Brady's every word.
So I think if I was Mark Davis, I would listen to Tom Brady because, I mean, I'm not saying Tom Brady's the czar of football, but
Not even close.
I would think that, hiring Pete Carroll, I think was a good idea.
I think hiring Chip Kelly was a great idea. I think letting those two people do their job is an even better idea.
I don't know how long Chip will be in Vegas.
It doesn't have to be there long.
I think he's there a year.
I don't know. It depends. I mean, we'll see. I don't know how hot of a name he'll be, but regardless of that, I mean, I think that's one thing that'll be interesting to see with the draft, and we'll break down the draft a lot more. But I'm telling you, I think that'll be interesting. I think what Vegas does will be very interesting.
Richie just put it in that mock drafts have Will Howard being a Jet. Yes, Jets. If Will Howard's a Jet, I can tell you it's over.
In his Madden dynasty.
I'm just telling you, Will Howard goes to the Jets, it's over.
Well, yeah. If anybody goes to the Jets, it's over. No, the person that's going to go to the Jets is Quinn Ewers. I promise you, because he's Aaron Rodgers light.
And here's my thing. This is just one thing I got on this, and then we'll reset the show and
get to the main topics.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I think we got time to squeeze everything in. My thing is that if you have a bad pro day and then you have a bad combine, if you're Quinn Ewers and you slide to like the 4th round, I'm just saying that you made. I don't know if you made the right or wrong decision, but being a 4th round pick and a 1st round pick are two totally different things. Trey Lance is still getting looks in the league. I mean,
for sure. But there's no way you have a bad pro day. Nobody lets that happen. It's impossible. Nobody's ever had one. It's impossible unless you just fall over and tear your Achilles. Like, it's impossible. They literally design it to make it as easy as possible and make you look good. And the combine, that's different because you have to do if you're going to do the drills, you have to do what's out there. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I think Quinn will be fine. I hope he doesn't go to the Jets, but I think he will.
Oh, what's up, Doreen?
Dublin mom, Asian posh in the house. What's up? Appreciate you tuning in.
The quarterbacks is where it's. We got breaking news.
Ooh. Okay, is it?
Warriors acquiring Jimmy Butler in a blockbuster deal. Pat Riley made the deal with Jimmy Butler. Yikes!
Smart.
I mean
that's good.
I mean, that's good for the Heat. I mean, that's somebody else's problem now. I mean, we don't talk much NBA ever, but I mean, Jimmy Butler is. I mean, they're not even in the playoff hunt. But
but good, yeah.
But yeah, after that, we'll just hit these. We'll hit these Bears topics real quick. Myles Garrett to the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, here, hold on. Let me get it thrown up on the screen here because there's a trade that's been rumored. Now it's not going to happen, but sorry, just threw me off there. The Bears receive Myles Garrett. The Browns receive this year's 2nd round, 26th first, 26th third. I mean, the Bears fans would love this. The Browns are not taking it. If you think you're getting Myles Garrett for a 2nd, a 1st, and a 3rd, you're insane. You're insane.
Okay, this is where I have issues when it comes to the NFL. He doesn't want to play for you.
Okay. We own him.
He doesn't want to play for you. So in order to make things more cohesive in your own locker room, you need to move him.
No, not at all. It's a business. Everybody understands that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
If he's going to be a cancer, then whatever. Don't show up. We're not going to sell you the rights to the iPhone for nothing. Like we have an asset that is worth. We know what it's worth, and if you aren't going to give us what it's worth, we're not going to sell it to you. Sorry.
I think this is where I'm not a big fan of holding players hostage because it doesn't work. It doesn't work for you. Every time you get a superstar, it's like what happens. It's like what happens at the Kings. It's like what happens at the Pirates. Every time you get a superstar, they figure out what you are and how your organization runs, and then they completely check out and bail on you. So you have no cohesion whatsoever. Like you dumped Baker to get Deshaun Watson. How's that working out?
Well, that wasn't a superstar, and we dumped him because we got Deshaun Watson. Like we Cleveland thought they were upgrading in that situation, right? But you're not going to sell your asset for less than market value. Like you just don't do that. Nobody does. That. Why would you? Somebody out there will give you market value.
What do you mean? DeAndre Hopkins just got traded for a 5th-round pick.
That's market value. They would have got more if they could.
If that's the ship you want to sink, look how it worked out for the Jets with Reddick. He didn't even play for him, hardly.
Yeah, but and whose fault was that? The Jets for making the trade.
We got him. Like it doesn't do either side any good.
Yeah, well then that's the Jets not knowing the market value or not know. Like what do you mean? That's a totally different situation. He got traded to the Jets and never played.
It would be like Myles Garrett getting traded to Cleveland and being like, "No, I'm not coming here."
Yeah, that would be a stupid decision by Cleveland. It was a stupid decision by the Jets to trade for him without already having a contract lined up. Like they let you talk to the player and the agent to get a contract lined up before you trade him, but they didn't get that done. So the Jets were dumb. So the Browns aren't going to sit there and be dumb and just say, "Oh, you know what? This is what they're going to give us. We have to take it." No, we own the rights to you for the next however many years. You can either play for us, and it behooves you to play for us because, first of all, you get paid. Second of all, if you don't play for us, less interest in you from other teams. And if you don't play great for us, then you're washed up. Nobody wants you anymore. So now your market value is even less. So now that next contract you want, you don't get because you didn't play at a high level. So there's no reason for the Browns to trade him at all unless they get exactly what his market value is. And there's no business in the world that talent can come to you and say, "Oh, I want more, or I want this, this, and this." And if you don't, and I've signed a contract with you, then I'm just not going to work. And if they don't work, guess what? They don't get paid. And they still can't go work for somebody else because they're still under contract. They signed an NDA. So, no, there's no way that you just sell because he asks you to. What does that open up to? If you become the franchise that sells players just because they want out, what does that make you? Now every player that gets the slightest hint that you might not give them the contract they want, well, now I'm just going to ask for a trade because you're going to deal me to make sure you get something instead of nothing.
I think that the Myles Garrett saga is going to go on for a little bit.
Yeah, well, it'll go on until OTAs, and then he'll report and he'll do his job. Because otherwise, he's not going to make any money. And Le'Veon Bell showed us how that works.
Yeah, the Le'Veon Bell thing was different. Le'Veon Bell wanted he wanted a contract extension, and then the Steelers gave him one, and then he turned it down for what he thought was going to be more money, and he took $3 million less a year to go to the Jets, and it completely cratered.
Yeah, but it showed players exactly how much power they actually have.
But I think in the Myles Garrett situation, it's let's be real. The Browns have completely cratered since they won that playoff game.
They were in the playoffs last year.
With Joe Flacco, you lost to a rookie quarterback, CJ.
Yeah, the rookie of the year.
But I mean, whenever I look at Myles Garrett's contract, he's got 2020, he's got 2025. His cap hit if you cut him is 19 million.
Well, we're not going to cut him.
2026 is 20 million. And then after that, it's he's an unrestricted free agent because the last 28, 29, and 30 are all voidable. So he's a free agent in 2 years.
Yeah, is he going to sit out for 2 years?
I don't know. I mean,
so you sit out for 2 years, and then you're a 32-year-old defensive end who hasn't played in 2 years. Hey, go get your market value then, bub. Good luck.
I look at that and I'd say you deal him. You have to deal him at some point.
If you get the price you want, yeah.
Because it's not going to be productive for anybody.
I mean, having him on the field is more productive than not having him on the field.
Because at the point you run the risk if let's say something happens, his hamstring gets tight, and he only plays 4 games for you, and you paid him all year.
We're already planning on paying him. That means nothing.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's not my money, so I don't care. And
yeah, or he doesn't play and his market value goes down, or he has to play at a high level because guess what? He wants another contract in 2 years. And if he doesn't play at a high level for the next 2 years, nobody's giving him another contract.
At year 9?
Yeah, year 9 for a defensive end, that's the end.
I mean, if
especially if he has 2 bad years because he's not trying. Like,
I mean, at this point, the Browns.
Then you're Jadeveon Clowney. You're Jadeveon Clowney, and you get $1 million a year or league minimum. Good job. Go do that.
I don't know. He gets $43 million up front. So
who? Jadeveon Clowney? Not with Cleveland.
No, I'm talking about Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I know, but he wants that next contract. That's why he wants to get traded. He wants to win, and he wants to show out, and he wants to get that next contract.
I think his leverage is that this place is a complete abject failure, and I want out of here.
How is that leverage? How's that leverage? Sorry, you shouldn't have signed the contract then.
Well, they were good when he signed, and then they just progressively got worse.
He signed his extension before that. No, they haven't.
I don't know. I mean, holding Myles Garrett hostage, you're just the only thing you do is you completely destroy the locker room. Like they got rid of the Broncos, dumped Brandon Marshall because of that headache at camp when the guy was batting balls down after they traded Jay Cutler, which I don't blame the dude.
Yeah, I mean whatever. But okay.
But I'm not saying give him away for nothing, but I'm just saying you're saying he has a market value and you can't get him for a first-round draft pick, an aging defensive end, in a third round and a second. You're telling me he's worth more than that. Yeah. But on the other end, you want to say that, well, he has no leverage. He can't do anything. Like, okay, if he doesn't play for you, then what fucking good does it do? It doesn't do any good at all.
It hurts him more than it hurts the Browns to not play.
Who you gonna play other than Myles Garrett? He's one of the top 5. He's exactly. We don't care. We just it's dumb, and you wonder why they lose because they do stupid shit like this. But anyway, the Bears.
Anyways,
it's frustrating because that's why they lose. They do stupid shit. He don't want to be there.
And the Steelers didn't when they didn't pay Le'Veon. Or when they ship out every receiver they ever get. Like
Wallace, what did Mike Wallace ever do? Never seen
I'm just saying, it's the same thing, man. It's a business, and everybody has to do it. What did Manuel Sanders do?
They got what they got out of him, and then when they didn't want to be there, you know what they did? They said, "See ya." Antonio Brown, same thing. Le'Veon Bell, you don't want to be here, but he's bad at math because he had a $12 million deal on the table, and he signs in New York for $9 million a year and played there 1 year. And got fat and couldn't play anymore.
I know, but it's a business. You're thinking of it from a fan perspective. It's a business.
I'm saying if I'm running a business and that guy is disrupting everything I'm doing inside my business, it's easier to ship him than it is to keep him. You got to cut your losses at some point.
But he's not going to impact anything. Like, he's not going to impact profits. He's not going to impact what we do. Like, he's going to go out and it benefits him to go out and play well, because then he gets another contract from somebody else. Like,
but does he though? A 32-year or 33-year-old defensive lineman, he's going to get another contract though? I don't see it.
If he's playing at the same level he is now, yeah, for sure. Somebody will sign him to a 3-year deal.
I don't even think he'd get that long. I think he'd just get 1-year rental deals.
If he's in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation every year for the next 2 years, no chance.
Okay, then trade him for 4 draft picks. But it seems like to me the Browns don't want to trade him, because I know what's going to happen, because if they trade Myles Garrett, that means they have completely quit. They have quit. I'm just telling you.
I don't think. I think they will trade him. It just won't be for that deal.
I think you have to move him, because if you're going to go draft a young quarterback or a young talent and that guy don't want to be there, what makes you think that the kid that you draft that potentially plays well, let's say it's Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders.
It's a business. Give him a contract. What do you mean? It's the same reason everybody signs.
They're not going to have Watson off the books yet.
Yeah, but by year 4 of the rookie, he's off the books. And then you sign him year 4. Instead of picking up his 5th-year option, you give him an extension, you give him a big deal, and then who gives a fuck about Myles Garrett? The quarterback doesn't. It's a business. He's worried about him getting his. He doesn't give a fuck you didn't give Myles Garrett money when Myles Garrett was complaining about not winning.
I don't know.
It's a business. These players don't care about that shit.
I would think that, you get older in your career and you're like, I want to win now.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good. We do too.
I don't see it. I don't see it. I think you got to deal him.
One really good way to make sure you never win is to take your best assets and sell them for less than what they're worth.
I'm not saying sell him for less than what he's worth.
Well, if you're saying to take the deal I just put up, that's selling him for less than what he's worth.
I think a first-round pick is fair. Do you think the Bears are going to win a bunch of games?
No, but I don't think that's the problem. What I'm saying is he's worth. He will get at least 2 firsts this year's and next.
I don't.
He is the reigning Defensive Player of the Year and the best defensive player in the NFL. Not even close. It's voted on by GMs and coaches. They all picked him as the number 1 defensive player in the NFL. You don't think that's worth 2 first-round picks? When people are giving up 2 first-round picks to draft a defensive end that might become that?
I mean, here's the scenario for the Browns. If you're going to draft Abdul Carter, you make that trade with Chicago. Because
why? Because then maybe Abdul Carter becomes that?
Because I think you'll have 2 top 5 picks next year. In 26.
With the Bears roster, I have no idea. The Bears aren't even top 5 pick this year.
I mean, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
But
I have no idea.
I would make that gamble just for the simple fact of you're banking on Ben Johnson. I mean, the Bears players say they love Ben Johnson, but you're banking on the fact
everybody loves Ben Johnson
right now. And so
except for Detroit, they don't really like him anymore.
But watch him go 10 and 22 over a 2-year period and see how much they like him then. Yeah. But I'm just saying, when it comes to that, I would, because see, this is one thing that if you study history, the Montreal Canadiens were one of the worst, the dirtiest professional franchises in hockey. And I know this is really strange going on a hockey tangent here.
Especially from you.
But the Montreal Canadiens had a guy that worked in their scouting department that would scout, because, you can draft the kids at 18. Mm-hmm. He would go out and scout the top 16, 17-year-old kids, and then they would project out and see who was going to be the best player, because they tried to do it with Lemieux, but they changed the rules because one of the rules that was in the NHL that was really, really kind of messed up, Montreal, if you had a French Canadian kid, Montreal, it didn't matter where they picked in the draft, they had first rights to them. And they changed that rule like right before they drafted Lemieux. But what Montreal would do is they would give up a team that would be struggling and trade like a Myles Garrett to them for future draft picks. And then they would pick at the top of the draft every year. That's how the Canadians stayed in power in the 60s and 70s in the NHL.
That's cool.
But I'm
you can't do that in the NFL.
I'm just saying that if the Bears and Ben Johnson completely crater this year, I don't think that's I think you get a younger pass rusher that's 10 years younger in Abdul Carter.
Yeah. No, I don't mind that, but why trade for but you could do that either way. You have the number 2 pick in the draft. You can get Abdul Carter right now. Guaranteed. Nobody else can get him but you. Unless the Titans take him. So we don't have to make that trade to get Abdul Carter. In fact, if we make that trade, it makes me think we're not getting Abdul Carter because we're going to pick a quarterback.
And I think
or
if Barry was
trade,
just my thing is if Barry's smart, you get Myles Garrett away from a new quarterback. I don't think. I think
just
you get
knowing
away from him.
Garrett, and I don't think he's a problem in the locker room no matter what happens during this because he's not that type of personality. But outside of that, why not trade with a team that's already picking in the top 10 this year? Get there this year's first round and next year's first round.
It's going to be a tough sell.
The Patriots. Aren't the Patriots top 10 this year?
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, the problem you have is like I think Washington is the more realistic fit, in my opinion.
Boom. Pick 4. So there you go. You trade them for this year's first round, and maybe if you get this year's first round and it's number 4, then you give the discount of a second and a third because you know what this year's first round is. You're getting this year's second from the Bears, which is 39, and you have no idea what next year's first round is going to be. It could be 32.
Did you just predict the Bears to win the Super Bowl?
I am not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen, right? Like anything is possible. So why not take – I want this year's first round if I'm trading them. That way I know what I'm getting, and it needs to be a top 10 pick.
Real quick, we'll move on to the Ohio State hires, and then we'll get everybody out of here. We're just over an hour. Appreciate everybody watching. We got 50 people in here. Hit that like and subscribe button if you like to hear me and Carter argue about the future of the Cleveland Browns. Sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills arguing with this guy sometimes. But
you usually are because you're wrong, but
I still think you trade Myles Garrett. But here's a little detail. The detail on the deal is the Heat get the Warriors get Butler, the Heat get Dennis Schroeder, Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and a first round pick. What a haul.
Jesus.
What a haul.
Well, the Warriors went all in when KD said that he's not going back. Because that's what earlier today, KD said he's either playing for the Suns or he's going to the Heat, essentially. And the Heat would have been a Butler for KD trade. And the Warriors went all in and said, well, fuck it, you're playing for the Suns then.
Yeah,
I don't follow the NBA, so that could all be wrong.
I don't either, but I just thought that was really fascinating because I know the Heat had kept suspending Jimmy Butler and kept on. I
gotta be honest, I couldn't care less. Like it's a big name. I know the name Jimmy Butler. It's Michael Jordan's kid, right?
No.
Yeah, it is. No, that's Michael Jordan's kid.
No, one of
look
those.
Look it up. Google it if you haven't. That's Michael Jordan's kid. No, I'm not even going into that. But yeah. Anyways, let's get a little break here. We'll do one more little break for our partner here since we're going a little over an hour, and then we'll get to the Ohio State hires and get everybody out of here. All right, we'll be right back after this.
What's up, guys? If you have been watching the show for a while, you know if you're like me that you love a good nicotine pouch. So that's why we're super excited to offer our first ever promotion here on the show. Alp pouches, ALP pouches, the new standard in nicotine pouches. A better time without pouches. A better time isn't just a tagline, it's a promise. We love nicotine pouches, and we're here to share that love. Better products, better experiences, and a genuine commitment to a better world. That's why a portion of every sale goes to real causes, not political players. Simple, honest, and yes, better. Best part about out pouches is you get more pouches in every tin. That's right, you get 20 pouches per tin as opposed to the regular 15. Also, tins come in 3 different strengths from 3, 6, and 9 milligrams, so you can pick your strength. And amazing flavors. All the pouches come with enhanced moisture, so no more dry pouches chafing your lips or giving you cuts and scratches on your inner lips. They come in all sorts of great flavors, all your typical flavors, or try my favorite, the refreshing chill or the tropical fruit in the 9 milligram. Alp isn't just better, Alp is the new standard. Created by real users, not suits in a boardroom. We've made the product they never could. So go over to alppouch.com/Duke Show. That's ALPPOUCH.com/Duke Show to get 10% off your first purchase of America's newest nicotine pouch standard.
All right. I just put another tropical fruit in. This show's going long, and Duke has me stressed out, so I need another pouch here because of all that. But we have some breaking news, or it was breaking news hours ago at least. Ohio State has hired, well, really 3 new assistant coaches today. The first one that broke was Tyler Bowden, who was the offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech, taking I don't know if you'd count it a step down, but technically, I guess, a step down to no longer be an offensive coordinator and taking the O-line job at Ohio State to replace the mediocre Justin Fry, as some people would say, or I like to say the great Justin Fry. Depends on your opinion. But
5
Duke,
blocks.
what do you know? What do you know? Yeah, what do you know about Tyler Bowden?
Some of the things I read about him was he was, I guess, an elite tight ends coach. He coached 7 guys to the NFL in his 15-year career, was at Fordham for a little bit, and then was at Penn State for a while. And I think that he had Freiermuth that played for the Steelers was one of his guys, and I'm pretty sure you could count Tyler Warren as one of his guys.
He recruited Tyler Warren, yeah.
So, I mean, it looks like he's got – and then he had 4 or 5 guys drafted at tackle at various places. So, I think that, him and Justin Fry have about the same amount of time in coaching. I think Fry's got him beat by a couple more years.
Yeah.
I think that you've got – you want to split hairs, but this is something that – is universal at, the Ohio State. I'm not saying everybody's a hater, but the first time he does not sign a complete 5-star stud, they're going to be like, this guy stinks. Bring back Fry. I'm just telling you, that's what's going to happen. They're going to say, Justin Fry was amazing. Just like when they hired Fry and then they had Stud. Stud is terrible.
Yeah. I know.
There is no pleasing the meat on the table crowd. Yeah. So I think
it's like the scene from Austin Powers, right? What do you want a smoke and a pancake? Bong and a blitz?
Yeah.
Cigar and a waffle? Then there is no pleasing you.
There
right?
is.
But so here's what I know about him. I obviously read up on him a little bit and talked to a couple of different people that didn't really know him, but had heard of him. I don't have anybody that I know directly that knows him. But, his time at Penn State, he did really well. He was very highly regarded as an O-line coach and tight ends coach over different years and things like that. Obviously, the Tyler Warren thing, he gets a lot of credit for recruiting him. He was a recruiting guy, really. Like before he got his start as a position coach, he was more of a recruiting guy. So he should be really good at recruiting, which is the only thing Ohio State fans care about, I guess, because that's the main reason they wanted Justin Pratt gone, was that he was a terrible recruiter, even though the guys that he brought in every year seemed to put a good product on the field. But they didn't care about that. They wanted the 5 stars. They wanted the splashy guys. I know Michigan just got 2 5-star offensive tackles in this past cycle. So Ohio State really needs to get those 5 stars, because that's what's important. It doesn't matter how good the team is or how good the O-line is on the field. It's the stars that matter. But I'm being sarcastic, obviously. However, I do think he's a good coach. He was at Virginia Tech for just this year. He was at West Virginia before that. And he seems to be good. So if he can come in and build off of what Justin Pratt built for him, and I don't think he left him a bad room, assuming nobody moves on after the hire. I think, the 2 tackles that they brought in the transfer portal seem to be pretty solid guys that have good tape. And so I think he's walking into a pretty good room, a little low on numbers, which is one of the big knocks on Fry that I actually agree with. He didn't bring in the number of people that you might want. He was a little low. I always tell people, I have conversations with them about recruiting, specifically offensive line recruiting, and I'll give you my take. I don't know if I've said it on here before. I really don't care about offensive line recruiting. I really don't, as far as stars go, because offensive line recruiting is the biggest bust position in college football. I don't know the percentage. I'd have to look it up or figure it out, but 5 stars don't turn into draft picks as often as other positions. Why? Think about how hard it is to evaluate a 16-year-old kid playing offensive tackle in a small high school or at a high school. They're not going up against the 5-star defensive end that you're recruiting. Like, it's so hard to evaluate that position, and they haven't grown into their full body. They're 6'8", 220 or 6'8", 240. They haven't gotten into a strength and conditioning program. So it's hard to evaluate that position, that entire group. So that makes one thing. On top of that, once you get into, and when you have 5 stars, I played with a 5-star tackle that was a very good player. He played for probably 8 years for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really good offensive lineman. It didn't mean that when he got to Ohio State, it took him a minute to get to that level, because you're not playing that level in high school. And so it's a larger learning curve. And that's not even learning how to block. It's just a totally different thing than being a 5-star receiver, where your job is to get open. And now you just have to learn technicalities. And so that's just my little soapbox on that. But overall, I think from everything I've heard, it's a slam dunk hire. So, check one box, hopefully, for it, Ryan Day. Now, I don't know if he's recruited O-line at a level that Ohio State expects yet, because I think you'd have to look. What's that on campus? Yeah. Well, no, they don't, Dave. No, they don't. And Dave's here again. I don't know if you already said that, but love that. No, they don't help you win in a dogfight. You know who does? The fucking grinder who was a 3-star that turns out to be Joe Alt or something like that. But I think it was a good hire. I mean, we'll see. With offensive line hires, I treat it like a lot like I treat offensive line recruits. Like, I care. I hope they're good offensive line coaches. But until I see them put a product on the field, I really don't care.
To echo that sentiment, I just think that, when you have to try to evaluate these guys, it's tough. And I mean, don't give it 3 months. They're going to hate this dude. And then Hartline being promoted to OC, I think it's harder to hate Hartline because he's a former player, but I just think because he's got a 2-year shelf life in this position. He's either going to do really well and he's going to be out the door because he'll be a head coach somewhere, or B, he's going to completely crater or he's going to get fired.
Dave, with the pointed question, wasn't he already the OC? At one point. One point, he was. He was the offensive coordinator 2 years ago. That's correct. And they demoted him when they hired Chip Kelly, and now they re-promoted him. My opinion on Brian Hartline has not changed. I think he's a really good coach. He's obviously a phenomenal recruiter. Well, his Twitter bio never lost the title, but I believe he did. He might have kept a co-OC title, but everybody knew what it was. I don't know. But they promoted him to the full OC and said he's actually going to call plays this time because that's the only knock on Brian Hartline that I've heard or that I've seen is he hasn't ever called plays. And as an offensive coordinator, that's a pretty big part of the job. Usually, I mean, sometimes you're an OC for an offensive coach and they still call the plays, but you're intricate in it and suggesting it and things like that. To my knowledge, as was reported by 11 Warriors and other Ohio State outlets, was they gave him the opportunity to call plays during the spring, and they hadn't made a decision on the fall. And after the spring, Ryan decided to keep play calling. Take that however you want. You can take that as, well, Ryan was being a control freak, wanted to call plays. That could be very true. I don't know. Or you could take it as Brian tried to call plays. It didn't go very well. And Ryan said, oh, I need to do this. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. I couldn't tell you. All I know is that he had the opportunity to become the offensive coordinator, and they tested calling plays. Whatever the reason was, Ryan wasn't comfortable with Brian calling plays that year. Now, after a year under Chip Kelly, does that change? I hope so, because they said he's going to be calling plays. So we'll see. I think ultimately, we'll see. I'm not saying it's a bad hire. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying.
I think it's one of those that, like I said, he's either going to excel at this or he's going to completely crater and Ryan's going to fire him. Brian's not bashful about firing anyone.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say about the year he got promoted to offensive coordinator I believe there was an incident the night of the spring game, and I'm just saying. You want to put it in his hands?
I don't know.
Hopefully nothing happens.
I wasn't involved. I don't know, but
hopefully nothing happens and he's grown and matured and everything and all that's behind him. I'm not throwing shade at him, but I'm just saying that the night of the spring game, that incident happened, and then all of a sudden, a couple days later, the play calling duties get yanked because you gotta be able to have some maturity there. And you're making $93,000 a month.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't the play calling issue. Maybe Ryan was worried about his maturity after that incident. I don't know. I don't know what happened the first go round with him as offensive coordinator. I just know that it didn't work, and that's why they had to go find Chip Kelly, not Brian Kelly. Fuck Brian Kelly, but.
Yeah, we'll get into that tomorrow, but
you guys already talked about it yesterday. There's not much more. I know Brian Kelly came out today and said that's not true, which I trust him about as much as I trust fucking politicians.
I wouldn't believe Brian Kelly if his tongue was notarized, but that's just me. The last thing.
Dave with the hold on one second. Dave, I was hoping they'd pick someone else. He'd get pissed and take the wide receivers with him. I'm sure you were, Dave. As a Michigan fan, I'm sure you were. Posh, one last thing, sorry. But yeah, Ryan believes in him or believes that not picking him would have lost him, whichever it was. But yeah, I think Ryan believes in him. And at this point, if you're an Ohio State fan, you have to trust in Ryan Day. I mean, he's proven himself enough. And he's proven his ego enough that outside of one game a year, he will take his ego out of the equation and he will hand it off to other people and allow people to do their jobs. That one game a year still, we need one more. We need a win to confirm that he's really gotten over that.
This one here, glad it was confirmed from a credible source. That's.
Yep. I mean, it's been talked about by many different people, but it was confirmed today by somebody else.
Yeah, and Dorian's right. The players do love him.
Yep.
The one last thing that I want to throw out of here before we close up shop tonight.
Mhm.
I pay attention to a lot of things going on in the Georgia legislature. Just passed some pretty groundbreaking legislation, and it's not politics. It's their NIL contributions for college athletes. You know what they passed for that?
What?
It's all tax free.
Oh, well, I mean, that's been pretty widely the case.
There's only 5 states that do it, that it's completely tax free.
It doesn't matter if it's because, like, I don't think it's completely tax free in the state of Ohio unless the collective is a 501(c). Then it is. And I know that I believe now both collectives in Ohio are 501(c), so it's all tax deductible. But you'd have to look up you're talking about contributions that fans make to the collectives.
Everything.
No, income is not tax free.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not
So the players. No.
I'm being serious. You got to go read
I
that.
highly doubt that.
It's not going to be taxed at all.
Well, is Georgia one of the few states in the country that doesn't have an income tax?
Yep. They don't have.
There you go. So then it always was.
There's an exemption for that. They wrote,
but they have an income tax for other things. That's weird. That's crazy.
Well, that's just like the Freedom of Information Acts that
somebody got. You still have to pay a federal income tax, though.
I don't think so. I think it's all tax.
No, you have to in every state. You just don't have to pay state income tax if you're not. Like Texas and Florida have no income tax. You still have to pay your federal withholding. Like the federal government still gets theirs no matter what.
So I don't know.
Only the federal government can write that into code.
But Brian Kemp said that the state of Georgia is not going to be taking any tax dollars from college athletes. Is what? Is
the state won't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the state won't. So I mean that makes sense. And I think not to get political, but I think you'll see a lot of states go to that for college athletes, and I think a lot of states will start getting rid of income taxes soon. But we'll see.
But the only other states to do it is Florida already had it.
Florida, Texas, and a couple other already have no income tax.
Florida and Texas were the two that had. They didn't have like a special exemption, but you had to fill out.
No, they just don't have an income tax.
You had to fill out some special.
Oh, well, maybe I don't know. Because I know if I did my work that I do in Florida or Texas, I just wouldn't have to pay state income tax. Like I don't have to do anything.
Because it was something weird that you just had to fill out a form that they were having the kids fill out, and then Tennessee just changed it, and it's kind of wild because you look at the David Sanders thing. If you're paying $2 million for a kid, and you can save 5% on $2 million. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Well, that's why the crazy thing about the Luka trade, like Luka Doncic, is like, bro, he was in a state with no income tax, and now he's going to California. And on top of that, he's not eligible for the Supermax, so he's going to lose $150 million. So he's losing money, and he's going to get taxed out the ass.
This is just one quick conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard this from like multiple people, and I talked to somebody in my family about this that is really connected in NBA circles. He says it's not that far-fetched that the Mavs might try to move the Mavs to Vegas.
I have no idea. That'd be crazy.
Because they need as many assets as off the books as possible to make the move cheap as possible. Because remember when the Rams did the fire sale with Jeff Fisher, whenever they were moving to LA, they hired Jeff Fisher, and then they completely got rid of everybody, drafted Goff and Gurley, and they went to the Super Bowl. But
But yeah, did Elon Musk get involved? Who knows? Dodge for NIL. Yeah, who knows? He should. Yeah, that would piss me off, Dave. If I lived in a state with income tax and the players all of a sudden weren't getting taxed, like fuck off. Why is my income tax but yours isn't? Like now you want to earn money, that's fine. You got to pay the taxes on the money you earn. That's part of the deal here. This is America where you get taxed out the ass. Welcome to it. You're over 18.
Yeah, so we'll have to follow the Myles Garrett saga. I don't think this is over just yet, but
no, definitely
Carter is going to be.
I will be fine either way because I promise you they're not going to take that shit deal from Chicago. So I'm good.
It's not a bad deal.
It's a terrible deal. Anyways.
But with that being said, hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate everybody watching tonight. We will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 with another show. Hopefully we get some more news and we'll see what's going on. And but with that being said, hit the like and subscribe button and help us blow this thing up. That's all I got for tonight, Carter.
Yep, absolutely. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.